In this video, I want to show you guys how you can do better with in-home programming. If you're a new coach and trainer and you're trying to come up with ideas of how to better train people as you go to them, or maybe you're training people outside, you don't have a lot of equipment. And so what I have found is that resistance bands, and specifically these all-purpose bands, which I get nothing from, but you can check out the link in the description below if you want to get them at the end of this video, can be one of the most versatile pieces of equipment for you to use, and especially help you when it comes to in-home programming and training, where people maybe have some dumbbells, but maybe they don't move well enough to do all the exercises that you want to do. So I'm going to give you guys a workout you guys can do at home, give you some ideas, and honestly teach you a little bit about programming as we go through it. So for those of you guys who have not joined me before here on YouTube, my name is Coach Joe Drake. I'm the CEO and founder of the Axiom Fitness Academy. We've helped well over 600 people through our courses get NASM certified and started in the industry. Probably a lot more people like you out here on YouTube using our free resources as well. And now we're dedicated to making more coaching and programming resources and information that you guys can use as you're continuing on with your training career. So the first thing I want to show you guys is just simple setup. One of the reasons that I love these all-purpose bands, which you honestly can do just about everything you need with like an orange and a yellow, but is the ability to attach them and use them in different areas. And I can tell you guys, when I first started training, I was training people out of a dance studio. I had no equipment. These very quickly became my friend, especially with body weight at-home workouts. People might not have a lot of equipment for loading up the backside, things like pulling, and also when it comes to lower body for some of your clients who might not move that well. So the bands can be really versatile. And obviously as we go throughout different workouts, we'll set up different heights, but what I'm gonna show you guys is two simple triplexes. These are 3 exercise circuits that you literally could use with just about anyone. Whether this would be your first time going to train someone in home and you don't really know how they move, these are 3 pretty easy exercises inside of each circuit to teach them and get them doing well without a lot of coaching, and also make sure that you're hitting all these different planes of motion and all the movement patterns that you've already learned about as a new personal trainer. So for this first set, what I have it set up more low. You might have people who are training in home, maybe they don't have weights, so they don't have a lot of weight for loading up the lower body. Or the other thing is, like, a lot of people that you might be going to and train in home, they might not move that well, right? So even with body weight squats, if you've gone through and learned things about mobility, they might not be in great positions. So I love the bands because we can add resistance, but we can also help them move better. So for this first one, we're gonna do a band resisted squat, all right? And the idea with these exercises is you could do them in sequence with whatever reps and sets you wanna do. I'm gonna assume maybe you're doing somewhere like 3 sets of 12 for each exercise, but you can play with those variables on your own. I just wanna show you the exercises and how they flow well together. So the first one being a band resisted squat. I've got enough resistance that I'm able to kind of pull my body upright as I sit back and down into this squat position. All right, so the nice thing about the band is it actually keeps me in a better stance than I might be able to get into on my own. And for a lot of people, especially if you're working with beginner exercisers or those who have not been doing a lot of resistance training, this alone is some added resistance, right? I'm able to kind of push back against that band as I come up to the top. And I'll also tell you guys, as people get stronger and stronger, let's just make sure, if you're using these things in home, make sure you have stuff set up appropriately. My simple tip for you guys is bands that are made to go through doors. You want to make sure you don't put them on the side with the handle. And I know it sounds silly, but obviously that handle opens up, or the door could come through. These are truthfully made to be near little hinges. And then at some stage, as people get really strong, this just might not be the exercise to overload. But for a lot of people, going through a set of 12 of these band resisted squats, especially if you're going with slow tempo, can be a really, really great way to start improving their squat pattern. Exercise 2, we go right into a single arm row. And the reason I like this one is because for a lot of people, if I've only got dumbbells at home and maybe I don't have really great position and posture, it's hard to get people in a good position to work the back and really pull, right? Oftentimes at home, we don't have nearly as much for pulling as we do pushing. And so this one, we change our stance into a split stance, and we're just gonna pull that band right in towards the ribs. Obviously, if I want a little bit more resistance, I can move back. But the nice thing about this position is it's somewhat down, so it's gonna simulate something like a dumbbell row, but I get to start from a good position. Very different than a bent over row, right? So I'm starting from a good posture position, and I'm solidifying that as I'm working the back muscles. So again, 12 reps per side. And then the third piece, right down to the ground. So we did two things from standing. So I find for a lot of clients, as we're putting together sets, it's nice to give them a break in position, right? We had the standing loaded squat. Then we were into a split stance, right? So the cool part is we got a squat, we got more of a lunge, and now we come down and we're just able to focus more on core stability. So make sure you're putting a comfortable mat underneath those knees. Knees a little bit wider than our hips. That just helps us kind of set up a better triangle base. And then what we're gonna do, we're at a pretty good height, especially if we had the band set up at a low position, to integrate some rotation. This can be a challenge for a lot of people, right? You learn about things like the transverse plane, and then you don't really have an example of like, how do I put it in? Or where do I put it in? This would be a really great opportunity. Allows us to rest the big muscles that we were just working, but get some good core work and hip stability in at the same time. And the thing that I also like about this with the bands is that it's a nice natural flow from exercise to exercise. After that exercise, I could rest, and then guess what? Boom, I'm ready for round 2 or round 3. And it's very easy for me to transition from one exercise to the next without having to change my setup, right? So not to say you couldn't change heights with the bands, but as you guys start training more people, this applies for any equipment you're using. You wanna really think about your transitions. How long does it take me to set up one exercise from the next? And although it might be nice for me to do a high position lat pull in that set, it's gonna kind of feel like a broken programming set if I've got to stop and move the door and move the band. So as you're thinking about putting exercises together, these 3 are great, but if you were to put together another 3, how well do they flow together? All right, so that would be our first set. And the cool part is if we're thinking just programming, especially with minimal equipment, we've already hit our squat pattern. We got a little isometric work in our lunge pattern while we got some rowing, and we already got some rotation. So if you're thinking about some of those primary movement patterns, we already covered 3. Let's see how we can get a couple more. In this next set, what I wanna do is I'm gonna change heights, right? There's a lot of stuff we can do from the low position, but as I wanna get into doing some pressing, especially for some of your clients who, you're training at home, they might not have a lot of weight, and you're like, how do I do pressing? And you go right to push-ups. Well, push-ups might not be right for them, right? They might not be strong enough to get the most out of them. I would much rather put them in a good position to train pressing from a standing position, at least until we build up some strength. So what we do here is we put this a little bit more chest height, and now guess what? Right away, we're ready for our next set. And just like before, I'm gonna do all 3 exercises from the same set. So first one, we'll go right into our chest press. Reason that I love the chest press with the bands is you're getting a lot of work all at the same time. I am getting on the surface, it's gonna be a pushing exercise. So as we think about our different movement categories, I'm checking another box that I haven't hit yet. I'm training some chest, some shoulders, some triceps. But if we look at the stance here, I'm also getting some balance and some core stability. And for a lot of the clients that you may be training at home, again, if they do have minimal equipment, chances are they may be a newer exercise or they may not have a ton of strength. This is one you can literally get just about anyone doing with very little coaching and cueing. Now, we worked a little bit of lower body before. We haven't done any frontal plane, any side-to-side movement, all right? Lateral lunges can be a great exercise. I actually really enjoy introducing people to them with some assistance, actually making them easier. And so what we're gonna do here is we're gonna be somewhat of like a band-assisted lateral lunge, where I'm stepping side to side. And I like this because there's a couple ways we could progress this too. If we want to make this easier for someone, just focusing on mobility and balance, I could keep it here at the chest. If I wanted to integrate a little bit of core into the exercise, and then again, even if I just wanted to focus less upon the core, I can have that hand out and really just be assistance getting into those positions. We want to get people moving side to side frontal plane, but we don't have a lot of options. Bands can be actually a great way for someone who maybe they lack a little balance, maybe we're introducing that movement pattern to them to integrate that in. And then last but not least, we haven't done any accessory movements, so we can flow right into triceps. And I'm gonna go triceps here because we're not down at a lower angle for biceps, but you can think of any other accessory exercise. I'm just giving you guys an example of how we could flow right from one exercise into the next. Tricep extensions, back is nice and flat. Band resistance tends to be pretty friendly. Obviously I can make it a little bit harder, a little bit easier. So with minimal equipment, I can really accommodate a lot of people. Even for your stronger clients, this isn't gonna be easy So you can challenge a lot of people. If I wanted to go bicep curls, I could change that out as well. But I just wanted to give you guys some ideas. These can be extremely versatile. We went through just 6 exercises in the video here that obviously you could use with anybody, but if anything, you could also take the setup that we did and thinking about how could I string together these simple little 3 exercise sets. Chances are in a full hour session, you're gonna get through 2 or 3 of those based upon the client. And all of a sudden, you've got a lot of more exercise options than you think. So hopefully this was helpful for you guys. If it was, comment below if you guys wanna see more stuff like this here on our YouTube channel. Exercises ideas, programming ideas, whether it's in home or in the gym.